Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about calibrating the Batch 5 pedal set. Now calibrating this pedal set is not that difficult. It's actually quite simple. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is get everything set up mechanically. Get all the adjustments done mechanically that you possibly can before you do any calibration within Windows or DIView. You want to make sure that the pedals are set up the way that you drive and what's most comfortable for you. After you get them set up mechanically, then we can move on to calibrating them within Windows. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, so now that you've got the pedals set up just the way that you want them mechanically, we can start the calibration process within Windows. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is download a program called DIView. Now you can get this program on Leo Bodner's website. I've opened up Leo Bodner's website, and on the left hand side you're going to click the link that says Universal USB Interface Boards. Go ahead and click that. And you're going to want to choose the very bottom link right here. I'll click on that. And then you're going to want to go to Product Downloads. So click on that. And it's going to be the second link from the top, DIView. Now go ahead and download that, and then you can put a shortcut to it on your desktop like I have, or you can open it from wherever you downloaded it. But before we open up DIView, let's go ahead and plug in the circuit board. Alright, so it gave me the notification and I've got the circuit board plugged in to the USB. So let's go ahead and open up DIView. Alright, so now that we have DIView open, you can see there are several different windows that correspond to different inputs. So let's concentrate on the right hand side here. The first window right here is RX, that is the throttle pedal. The next one down is RZ, and that is the clutch pedal. And the last one down on the right hand side is the load cell, and it's labeled slider. So the top one is the throttle pedal, as you can see, the input. The middle one is the clutch, as you can see the input there. And the bottom one is the brake pedal. Now the brake pedal really doesn't need to be calibrated, but there are a couple of ways that you can tweak the load cell's sensitivity. The first way is with the sensitivity knob on top of the circuit board box. Now right now I have the sensitivity knob turned all the way clockwise, and that gives me full input. So let me just press on the brake pedal and you can see the slider move from 0 all the way to the end. Now if you want the load cell to have less sensitivity, what we can do is we can turn the knob counterclockwise. I'll turn it about halfway there. And now it takes much more pressure to go from 0 to the very end. And if we turn it all the way counterclockwise, we get 0 input. So I'm pressing on the brake pedal and nothing's happening. So let's turn it all the way clockwise, and now we get full input. Now the second way you can tweak the load cell sensitivity is by editing the numbers within DIView. So let's go ahead and right click on the load cells window, the slider window, right click and choose Calibration. And that will open up a window with a few numbers. You can see it has a minimum number, a center, and then a maximum number. Now normally you want these numbers evenly spaced, so 0 to 2025 and then to 4095. So the center you want about half of the maximum number. That will give you a nice linear input. So let's say that you want the load cell to be a little bit more sensitive. You don't want to press as hard to get to full input. So what you would do is you would change this maximum number to something lower. So let me change it to, let's change it to 2500. And then change the center number to 1250, being half. Hit OK. And now let's press on the brake pedal. And now I don't have to press nearly as hard to go from 0 to full input. It's a lot more sensitive. Now I'm going to change these numbers back to stock because I like having a little bit less sensitivity. Hit OK, and now we're back to stock. Now if you're going to be using these pedals within iRacing exclusively, editing these numbers will have no effect whatsoever. iRacing uses something called raw data. Now the raw data is the actual input from the load cell itself and the circuit board. You cannot edit the numbers within DIView and have them take effect within iRacing. And I'll show you an example of what I mean by that. So let's right click in the same window and choose View Raw Data. Now another set of numbers popped up in red and it's labeled as raw. And it has two sliders now, one in red and one in black. So let's go ahead and press on the brake pedal now and see what we get. So the sliders are fairly even. They both go from 0 to full input exactly the same way. So let's go ahead and edit the numbers again. I'll choose Calibration, and then I'm going to choose 2500 as the max, and then 1250 as the center. So let's press on the brake pedal again and see what happens. Now, as you can see, the lower slider is the edited input and the top slider is the raw input. Now again, iRacing uses raw data, so editing these numbers will have no effect. Alright, so let's move on to the throttle pedal. Alright, so now that you have the throttle pedal set up just the way that you like it mechanically, you've got the tension adjustment just the way you want, you've got the angle of the pedal just how you like it, everything is set up mechanically. Now you want to calibrate within Windows and DIView. So I've got the DIView window open on the right hand side of the screen here, but as you can see the slider is almost 3/4 of the way to full input. And if we press on the throttle pedal, we get input, but we only get input to about right there and nothing past that. And it goes back to about 3/4 of the way to full. So how do we fix this problem? Well, what we need to do is we need to physically rotate the potentiometer counterclockwise so that it goes almost back to 0. Now, the first thing we do is we're going to loosen the set screw on the potentiometer arm. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so now the potentiometer is loose. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate physically backwards until it gets to almost 0. And I think that's just about perfect. Alright, so now I'm going to tighten it back up. There we go. And now let's press on the throttle and see what the input is like. Alright, so we go from 0 to about, it's a little bit past halfway. And we want to go all the way to full. Now again, if you're going to be using these pedals within iRacing exclusively, editing these numbers within DIView will have no effect. But for other racing sims, let's go ahead and edit these numbers so that we can get the right amount of input. So we'll choose Calibration, and let's see, I'm going to choose, let's say 2500, and then half of that is 1250. I'm going to hit OK, and now let's check it out. Alright, so that's almost perfect. We go from 0, it's a nice linear smooth input, all the way to the end as we hit the bump stop. Now that's exactly what you want. You want a nice smooth range of motion from 0 to full input. So now that we have the throttle pedal calibrated, we can move on to the clutch. Now I'm not going to show you the clutch calibration because the process is exactly the same as the throttle. Now again, if you are going to be using these pedals within iRacing, you'll probably want to put these numbers back to stock. So I'm just going to choose Restore Defaults, then hit OK, and that should put me back to where I was before we calibrated. Yep, perfect. All right, guys, well, that about wraps it up. As I said earlier, the calibration process is actually very simple. It's not that difficult. If you guys have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me either on the forums or through email, and we will see you next time.